For almost 17 centuries, it was one of the tallest structures on Earth. A beacon for the entire ancient world, a true masterpiece of engineering, and a legend that inspired some seriously wild stories. Today, we're diving into the story of the Pharaoh's Lighthouse of Alexandria, a wonder of the world that literally vanished, only to be found again in the most incredible way. I mean, just look at this thing. It's soaring hundreds of feet into the air from a tiny island. This wasn't just some simple tower to guide sailors. It was a statement. It was a symbol of the power and, honestly, the genius of Alexandria, which was the bustling heart of the Hellenistic world. It was a true marvel. So this is the big question, right? This is the central mystery of our explainer. How could something so huge, so legendary, something that seemed so permanent, just get wiped off the map? Well, the answer involves earthquakes, myths, and a pretty surprising technological comeback. All right, first things first. To really get what happened, we need to understand what was lost. We have to go right back to the beginning to appreciate the sheer, mind-boggling scale of this architectural giant. Okay, so this wasn't just some tower someone decided to build. We're talking about a massive public works project. It was commissioned by Ptolemy I, finished by his son, and it took the brilliant architect Sostratus 12 years to pull off. It was built of the hardest stone they could find, and they even fastened the joints with molten lead to make sure it could stand up to the sea. As one historian put it, there was nothing like it on Earth. And get this, the inside was just as incredible as the outside. It wasn't just a hollow tower. One historian, a guy named Destachry, claimed it had over 300 rooms inside. So many, in fact, that you couldn't find your way around without a guide. It was this bustling, complex building hidden inside a giant, monumental beacon. Now, when you have a structure this amazing, you're bound to get some equally amazing stories. And over the centuries, yeah, the line between what was real and what was pure fantasy, it started to get a little blurry. A foundation of glass crabs? In the sea? I mean, seriously? This is one of the most persistent and, frankly, bizarre legends about the pharaohs. For centuries, people actually believed this monumental tower was sitting on top of giant, fragile glass sculptures. And here's the really cool part. This is a perfect example of how these wild myths get started. It turns out, historians like Masudi were right about the glass and the crabs. They just had the wrong monument. You see, nearby there were these two huge granite obelisks, and they were resting on massive metal crabs. One of them might have even had supports made of black obsidian, which looks a lot like glass. So a simple case of historical mix-up created this incredible, lasting myth. Oh, and the legends didn't stop there, not by a long shot. People claimed it had a mirror that could literally incinerate enemy ships like some kind of ancient death ray, or an automated statue that tracked the sun, or a siren that would shriek a warning when enemies got close. The reality was probably a highly polished metal mirror for signaling and a fire at night, but these fantastical stories really show you how deeply this wonder captured everyone's imagination. But, even the greatest wonders can't last forever. The very same forces of nature that the lighthouse stood against for so long would, in the end, be the things that brought it down. It wasn't like it just fell down one day. It was the slow, agonizing decline. For over 1,000 years, it stood tall. But then a series of really powerful earthquakes starting in the 10th century began to chip away at it, piece by piece. Finally, in the late 14th century, another major quake delivered the final blow, and the great Pharos lighthouse crumbled into the sea. And for centuries, that was it. Story over. A pile of rubble, a forgotten wonder. But this isn't just a story about loss. It's a story of rediscovery. Because it turns out the stones of the lighthouse weren't gone. They were just waiting. Okay, let's jump forward in time, way forward, to the modern era. This is where underwater archaeology started to reveal the lighthouse's secrets, which were hidden in plain sight at the bottom of the Alexandria harbor. And this is what they found: an immense underwater field of debris right where the lighthouse used to be. Archaeologists from a group called the Centre d'études alexandrines, or CELX for short, started mapping the site and quickly realized they were looking at the actual remains of the pharaohs. We're talking over 3,500 individual stone blocks scattered all over the seabed. But finding the blocks is one thing. Trying to study them is a whole different ballgame. I mean, imagine trying to create a detailed map under these conditions. The water is often super murky, the currents are strong, and the bottom is just this jumble of rocks and huge artifacts, some of them weighing over 40 tons. The old school methods just weren't going to cut it. This work took incredible skill and patience. You had divers swimming in these precise patterns, sometimes just using simple ropes as guides, meticulously taking pictures of every single inch of the site. It was slow, it was demanding, and it was dangerous. They really needed a new approach to figure out this colossal underwater puzzle. And that new approach, that new plan, it came from the world of digital technology. The team decided that if they couldn't physically rebuild the lighthouse, well, they would do the next best thing. They would rebuild it virtually. The technology is called photogrammetry, and the best way to think about it is like this. You're creating a giant, digital, 3D jigsaw puzzle. By taking thousands and thousands of overlapping photos from every possible angle, a powerful software can analyze them, find all the common points, and stitch them all together into a perfect, measurable, three-dimensional model. And when I say giant, I am not kidding. Just look at that number. Over 50,000 photos. And that was just to map about 60% of the site. This wasn't some casual photography project. This was a massive data gathering operation, all done by hand, by divers swimming in that murky harbor. And this is just incredible. This image shows you the actual path the divers' cameras took. Each one of those little blue rectangles is a photograph. They had to swim these precise back and forth patterns, almost like an aerial survey plane, just to make sure every single stone was captured from multiple angles. So what's the payoff for all that painstaking work? This. And you have to understand, this is not a single photograph. This is a digital surface model, basically a composite of thousands of images that have been digitally flattened to create a perfectly clear top-down map of the entire site. It lets us see the ruins with a level of detail and clarity that is literally impossible to see with your own eyes. And this is the whole point, right? This digital duplicate is so much more than just a cool picture. It's a permanent, perfectly preserved archive of a world wonder. Now, archaeologists can study every block, they can take measurements, they can test theories about how the lighthouse was built, and they can do it all from a computer, safe from the destructive power of the sea. You know, there's this great quote from a historian, A.J. Butler, who said that the genius of great monuments leaves an indelible stamp on the centuries. And in a way, the ancient genius of Sostratus is now being preserved by the modern genius of the CE Ilex team, making sure that stamp is never, ever truly erased. So it really makes you think, doesn't it? The Pharos lighthouse was lost for over 600 years, and now it exists again in a digital form. It makes you wonder, with technology like this, what else that we've considered lost forever is just waiting out there to be found and rebuilt, one photograph at a time?